Imagine, just for a moment, a life where you never have to worry about a salary again.
Right.
No stressing over a mortgage, no agonizing over the soaring cost of groceries every week.
Or the creeping fear of corporate layoffs.
Exactly. And let's take it a step further into the social side of things. Imagine you also never have to endure another awkward, tension-filled family holiday dinner,
Oh, wow.
because the very concept of the traditional family has just been, well, completely erased.
Which is wild to even think about.
It really is. I mean, it sounds like the setup for a science fiction utopia or, maybe a bleak dystopian novel, depending entirely on your perspective.
Totally depends on how you look at it.
Right. But the text we are diving into today claims that this exact lifestyle isn't fiction at all. It asserts that this radical way of living has been a functional, breathing reality on Earth for over a decade.
It's a genuinely startling claim to encounter. So we're looking at a manifesto written by an author named Schwiffing. This was published in July 2023, and it's titled, Humanity's Most Ideal Life Has Been Born on Earth for Over a Decade.
Catchy title.
Right. And the document lays out these 18 highly specific, interwoven principles that supposedly govern this entire community.
Okay, so before we get into the actual mechanics of how a society without money or marriage functions,
Which we will get into.
which we will, yeah,
Oh,
we need to set the stage for how we are approaching this deep dive today.
very important.
We're looking at this purely as a sociological thought experiment. This text presents a highly unconventional, deeply ideologically charged societal model.
Yeah, it completely dismantles the foundational structures of modern life as you and I know them.
Exactly. So we aren't here to endorse this. I mean, frankly, the complete erasure of personal boundaries might sound really alarming to a lot of people listening.
Oh, absolutely.
But we also aren't here to casually dismiss it or, take sides. Our strict mission today is just to impartially unpack these fascinating, provocative ideas contained in the original source material.
Right, we just want to figure out how this author claims this entire machine actually works.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to understand how a society functions without any of our traditional stressors, we really have to start at the bedrock of human civilization, right? Basic survival and resources.
The economics of it all.
Yes, the manifesto comes right out of the gate declaring that in this community, there are no salaries, no bonuses, and no benefits.
None.
You own absolutely nothing. You don't have a bank account, you don't have a deed to a house, you don't even have a retirement portfolio.
Which is terrifying for most of us.
Oh, completely terrifying. But the text claims that because you own nothing, you are, quote, immersed in happiness, completely free from that crushing low-level anxiety of just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, the author is identifying a really core tension in modern capitalism here. In our standard system, the burden of survival rests entirely on the shoulders of the individual. If you fail, you fall through the cracks.
You're on your own.
Exactly. This manifesto completely flips that dynamic. Risks are entirely shared, and resources are entirely shared.
So no one is hoarding anything.
Right. You don't worry about unemployment or starvation because the collective assumes total responsibility for the physical realities of existence.
Wow.
The text explicitly outlines that the collective covers everything: education, healthcare, housing, and even end-of-life retirement.
It sounds like a giant high-functioning co-op, or like maybe an all-inclusive resort where the guests are also the staff.
That's a really good way to put it.
Because the text even describes everyone as a labor creator. It notes that less than 1% of the population are white-collar workers who are exempt from physical labor.
So the wealth gap is essentially zero.
Zero. But see, this is where the logic feels completely contradictory to basic human behavior to me.
How so?
Well, if there's no pay, no individual ownership, and the text specifically notes there isn't even a designated person or committee distributing the fruits of labor.
Right, meaning people just walk up and take what they need from the communal supply.
Yeah. Like, how on earth does anything actually get done?
Yeah.
Humans are wired to conserve energy.
We can be pretty lazy.
Exactly. What stops someone from just laying in a hammock all day by the resort pool when everyone else is out, harvesting the crops?
That is the absolute most natural pushback for anyone raised in a traditional economic system.
Right.
We are so deeply conditioned to believe that financial reward, or alternatively, the terrifying fear of poverty, is the sole driver of human labor.
Fear is a great motivator.
It is. But Weifeng's text completely rejects that premise.
Yeah.
It relies instead on a radical belief in intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah. The manifesto states that there is no supervision, yet everyone willingly creates because giving and contributing is considered the highest form of joy.
So they are essentially claiming that lazy people just don't exist in a vacuum.
Which is a massive bet on human nature.
A huge bet.
But the underlying philosophy there is that laziness is actually a symptom of an exploitative system.
Wait, really?
Yeah. The text argues that when the sheer panic of the financial survival instinct is removed, human nature does not default to apathy. It defaults to voluntary contribution.
Okay, I guess I can kind of see that.
Think about hobbies. People will spend thousands of hours and huge amounts of physical energy building, intricate model trains.
Oh, right. Or writing open source software.
Exactly. Or planting massive community gardens purely for the joy of it.
That's true. Nobody pays them to do that.
The author argues that when resources are freely available and risks are completely absorbed by the group, the psychological need to hoard wealth or avoid work just vanishes.
Huh.
People strive to achieve the highest quality because their labor is an expression of their existence, not a desperate bid to pay the electric bill.
That paints a really vivid picture. The panic of survival is just gone.
Entirely gone.
But if we follow that logic to its natural conclusion, it triggers a massive domino effect.
Oh, it really does.
Because if the collective handles all the economics, the housing, the food, the elder care, the schools,
Yeah.
then the primary historical purpose of the traditional family unit becomes completely obsolete.
Historically speaking, yes.
Right. You married someone to pool resources, to buy land, to have children who could work the farm or care for you in your old age.
It was an economic contract.
Exactly. So if the state is providing all of that, the economic driver for marriage disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And the manifesto takes this realization to its absolute wildest extreme.
It initiates a complete and total social reset.
Yeah.
By removing the economic necessity of the family unit, the author argues that you also remove the primary source of human misery.
Wow. Misery.
Yeah, the manifesto explicitly abolishes marriage and the family.
Just gone.
Gone. Because the collective handles raising the children and caring for the elderly, the text claims that tedious household chores disappear, and complex, draining interpersonal relationships simply vanish.
It's like stripping away all the administrative burden of adult life.
It really is.
Think about it, no agonizing over the in-laws, no pressure to buy the perfect anniversary gift, no endless scheming or compromising to maintain a failing relationship just for the sake of the kids or the mortgage.
The text even abolishes traditional customs.
Like what?
Like giving gifts, celebrating birthdays, or observing religious and national holidays.
Wait, no birthdays?
No birthdays. Those are all replaced by abundant cultural and entertainment activities, but those specific obligatory traditions are gone.
It seems like the author is really targeting the concept of exclusivity.
Precisely. Even romantic bonds are stripped of their exclusivity.
Right.
The manifesto mentions a rich and varied sexual life, but it explicitly notes this comes without the need to invest time, energy, or money into maintaining specific romantic relationships.
You don't belong to anyone, and no one belongs to you.
Exactly.
See, this is where it sounds incredibly jarring to the average listener.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Eradicating the family. Abolishing birthdays. It sounds deeply isolating. Humans are fundamentally wired for connection and pair bonding.
We are social creatures.
Doesn't completely dismantling the family structure just create a society of lonely, disconnected people floating around this utopian resort like ghosts?
What's fascinating here is how the text reframes the very definition of connection.
Okay, how so?
Rather than viewing this structure as isolating, Schiffing claims it is the ultimate form of liberation.
Liberation from what, though?
The manifesto argues that this specific environment allows you to just be yourself without needing to manage interpersonal politics or walk on eggshells around a spouse. The text describes a space where only a universal, generalized love pervades, free from corruption, theft, and drugs.
So it's just general good vibes for everyone, but nothing exclusive.
Right. The author views exclusive relationships, like marriage, not as bonds of love, but as mechanisms of ownership and obligation.
I see what you mean. The text treats the nuclear family as a source of friction. Because, if you have a family, biological imperative dictates that you have to prioritize them above all others.
It's survival of your own genes.
Right. You have to secure resources for your kids, even if it means someone else's kids get less. That naturally leads to competition, stress, and friction with the rest of society.
You're hitting on the core tension the author is trying to solve.
Right.
By dismantling the family, the author argues you dismantle the root cause of interpersonal conflict. You aren't isolated. You are universally connected to the collective.
So everyone is your family.
Exactly. You treat every child as your child, every elder as your parent. You are tethered to the whole rather than selfishly tethered to a few specific people at the expense of everyone else.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yes.
Because if you have no family structures to enforce social norms, and you have zero financial incentives to keep people in line, how does this community prevent total Lord of the Flies level chaos?
It's the million-dollar question.
Right. You have a bunch of people with free access to the supply closet, endless entertainment, and absolutely no supervisors.
No.
So the answer the text gives is a highly unusual, almost chilling system of governance.
Because the traditional concept of governance doesn't even apply here. The manifesto states there are no internal laws, no rules, and no regulations restricting you.
Which sounds like anarchy.
It does, but there are no police, no judges, and no courts either.
But there clearly is order. The text says there is no manager above your free will, only that, quote, values are managing and programs are maintaining.
Yes, programs.
That word program stands out to me so much. It sounds less like a human government and more like a digital immune system in a video game server.
That analogy of a video game server is incredibly precise for understanding how this functions.
It's like moderation in a digital space.
Exactly. Think about how they handle safety. Everyone's freedom and safety are paramount. But if someone encroaches on another's freedom or threatens their safety,
There's no trial.
no trial, there is no prison system. The program simply expels them from the living circle.
Wow. It's the physical equivalent of getting shadow banned from a platform.
It really is.
There is no drama, no lengthy rehabilitation process. You break the terms of service, and the algorithm just removes your access to the dining hall, your housing unit, and the community.
You are just deleted from the server.
Just deleted. That is so intense.
It is a radically self-correcting environment, and it's based entirely on permanent expulsion rather than rehabilitation, punishment, or restorative justice.
Right. There's no second chances.
And this algorithmic, programmatic approach to social order extends to how they live physically, which is perhaps one of the most structurally disruptive elements of this entire society.
Okay, what do they do?
The manifesto dictates that for a maximum of 3 years, everyone's living and working environment relocates.
Wait, everyone moves.
Yes, you move from place A to place B, then C to D infinitely.
Yeah.
Every 3 years max.
Which, on a purely physical level, sounds completely exhausting to me.
I know, right?
Moving is universally considered one of the most stressful life events. Why would a society dedicated to eradicating stress force its citizens to pack up their lives every 36 months?
Well, it fundamentally attacks the psychology of human territorialism.
Okay, explain that.
If you stay in one place, doing one specific job for 10 years, you naturally build a fiefdom.
You get comfortable.
You do. You form cliques, you establish localized power structures, you start to feel a sense of ownership over that specific patch of land or that specific leadership role.
Oh, I see.
By forcing a geographic and environmental shuffle every 3 years, the program prevents any entrenched power dynamics from ever forming.
It keeps everything shaken up.
It keeps the society entirely fluid. It breaks down the human instinct to hoard space, heavily reinforcing the idea that you belong to the whole collective, not to a specific house or a specific neighborhood.
That actually makes brilliant, ruthless sense in the context of their goals.
It's very logical if you follow their premise.
All right, you can't become a corrupt local politician or a neighborhood bully if you are constantly being rotated out of the environment.
Exactly.
But there is another rule under this program that genuinely shocked me, and it has to do with how they handle sickness.
Oh, this is a big one.
The manifesto states that sick individuals receive care, but they will absolutely not receive any pity or sympathy.
None. And the justification the text offers is a blunt question. Why even fall ill?
What?
Yeah, the manifesto claims that the very basis for falling ill no longer exists in this community.
Which sounds completely detached from basic biology.
It really does.
I mean, people get sick. Viruses exist.
Yeah.
Genetic predispositions exist. Pathogens don't care if you don't have a mortgage.
They do not.
So how can a community just banish pity for a person suffering from a biological reality?
This raises a profound discussion about how this society views the mind-body connection, and it is arguably the most radical psychological claim in the entire document. The text is arguing that the vast majority of human illness, the chronic fatigue, The sudden heart issues, the crippling autoimmune diseases, the anxiety-induced ailments are fundamentally physiological symptoms of modern societal stress.
But it's all psychosomatic, essentially.
They believe the human body is designed to be healthy, but our modern environment poisons it.
So they believe that capitalism and the nuclear family are literally making us sick.
Yes. The theory is that if you remove the existential dread of starvation, the crushing stress of a 30-year mortgage, the physical exhaustion of a grueling, meaningless job,
And the family drama.
and the deep emotional turmoil of complex family dynamics, human biology resets.
Wow.
The text theorizes that in this environment, illness becomes practically an anomaly. Cortisol levels drop, immune systems function perfectly.
So if you do catch a cold or develop an illness, they'll patch you up medicinally, but they view it almost like a bizarre glitch in the system, not a personal tragedy.
Exactly. You receive meticulous physical care. The manifesto even guarantees that end-of-life care is handled flawlessly so everyone dies with dignity.
But no sympathy.
You don't get an ounce of sympathy because sympathy implies victimhood. In a perfect utopia, there are no victims of the system. If society provides absolutely everything you need for a frictionless existence, demanding pity for being sick is almost viewed as a rejection of the utopia itself. They treat the biological symptom, but they refuse to validate the psychological state of being sick.
That is a staggering way to view human frailty.
It's very uncompromising.
So we've mapped out the internal mechanics of this place. We've shared everything, no nuclear families, infinite geographic rotation to prevent power hoarding, and a strict algorithmic program of expulsion for bad actors.
All culminating in a society so stress-free they claim illness is practically eradicated.
Right. But we have to transition from the theory to the reality check. How does a place like this interface with the outside world?
Yeah, the external perspective.
Because Shuifeng insists at the end of the text that this isn't just a paper theory. The manifesto states, quote, "This ideal life has existed on Earth for over a decade. It's a living reality."
But the author also notes it is deeply under threat.
Why is it under threat?
Well, the text openly acknowledges that this lifestyle cannot be fully unfolded everywhere globally right now. Not because it doesn't work, but because a massive portion of the outside world finds it completely undesirable.
Who specifically?
The author points to individuals who are deeply entrenched in the pursuit of power, wealth, and social status. People whose entire driving goal in life is to evoke envy and jealousy in others through conspicuous consumption.
Status obsessed.
Right. To those people, this egalitarian, familyless, propertyless life isn't a utopia at all. It is absolutely appalling.
And according to the manifesto, those critics don't just ignore this community. The text claims the outside world actively tries to guard against it, prevent it, suppress it, and eradicate it.
Which, if we step back and analyze it logically, makes perfect sense from the perspective of the traditional world.
Because it's a threat.
It is an existential threat to established power structures. If a society proves it can operate perfectly and happily without money, consumerism, or traditional hierarchies, it inherently delegitimizes the systems that powerful people rely on to maintain their dominance.
Right. If no one cares about wealth, the wealthy lose all their leverage.
Exactly. The resistance from the outside isn't necessarily about the logistics of the community. It's about preserving the ideological status quo of the rest of the planet.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Yeah, why does this matter?
You are likely sitting in traffic right now, or maybe folding laundry in a traditional family home, living a very normal, highly structured life, with a bank account and a calendar full of obligations.
Yeah.
Why should you care about this highly specific, radical document written by Shuifeng?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound value of studying a text like this isn't about rushing out to find this commune and joining it.
No, definitely.
The value is that it acts as a merciless, extreme thought experiment. It holds a mirror directly up to mainstream society. It forces you to look at the very pillars you assume provide you with security, your retirement account, your property deed, your marriage contract, the legal system, the police force, and asks a very uncomfortable question.
Are these things actually keeping you safe?
Exactly. Or are they the hidden underlying sources of your daily anxiety?
Wow.
It strips away all the cultural conditioning and challenges her absolute baseline assumptions about what it means to be a human being living alongside other human beings.
It's a total paradigm shift. It really makes you realize how much of what we consider human nature might just be a trauma response to the economic systems we built.
That's a great way to put it.
Shuifeng ends the manifesto with a direct, almost aggressive challenge to the reader, saying, "Do you think there is a more ideal way of life? If so, please enlighten us."
Which is a pretty bold mic drop for a
A
manifesto.
huge mic drop.
Yeah.
So just to quickly recap our journey today, we've taken a deep dive into a document that claims to have built a functioning, decade-old utopia. They did it by erasing money, dismantling marriage, and abolishing traditional laws, replacing all of it with entirely shared resources, universal generalized care, and a strict algorithmic program of expulsion and geographic rotation to keep human nature in check.
Building on Sui-Feng's final challenge, I'd like to leave you, the listener, with a lingering thought to explore on your own.
Okay.
The text asks if there is a more ideal way of life. Let's make that highly personal. If you had the power to write just one new fundamental rule for humanity right now, a rule specifically designed to eliminate a major source of stress in your own daily life without having to pack up and move to a radical, isolated commune, what would that rule be?
That's a great question.
And perhaps more importantly, looking at the extreme trade-offs in Sui-Feng society, what personal freedom, comfort, or cherished tradition would you be willing to permanently sacrifice to enforce it?
That is the ultimate trade-off, isn't it? Because checking into the stress-free, all-inclusive resort means you have to willingly surrender the keys to your own house.
You really do.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the structures of the world around you, and we'll catch you next time.